Hi everyone, I'm Maree Coote and this is Azaria. It's a true history of an event that happened here in Australia in 1980 when a tiny baby was stolen by a dingo at a place that was for a time known as Ayers Rock but is known now as Uluru. The event was so shocking, it shocked the nation so deeply that everybody had an opinion about what they thought occurred and who was at fault. And wild accusations were made, especially against the baby's mother. And that's really what this book is about. It's about injustice, and it's about ignorance, and it's about what happens when the truth gets lost.
And here we go. Azaria, a true history. I dedicated this book to Azaria's mum. Here goes. At the bottom of the world, in a wide brown land, there's a place where a giant rock rises high above the horizon, and people come from far and wide just to see it. People just like the family in the little yellow car. Like most visitors, their first day at the rock was filled with family fun and adventure. And here you can see them all taking photos, setting up the camp, exploring the area. But like most adventures, no one ever knows for sure how things will end. You see, it was on that very night, while the family cooked a meal of beans, that a goanna took a moth for his supper, an eagle took a joey for its dinner, and a dingo took a baby. That baby belonged to the family in the little yellow car. Her name was Azaria, and she smelled like warm ice cream. Have you ever smelled a new baby? They smell lovely. Her parents, who loved her very much, had tucked her in with a kiss and were just outside making friends under a starry sky. Now, every dingo knows that wherever there are humans, there is always food to be found. Sandwich scraps or barbecue bits near the campfire or in the rubbish bins, and sometimes even offered by a friendly human hand. You see, because some people think dingoes look just like dogs, and so they forget to be wary of dingoes. But things are not always as they seem. And just like the great red rock, which is at least 10 times bigger underground than it is above, there's much more to dingoes than meets the eye. They look like dogs, and sometimes they even act like pets, but they are wolf-wild ancient hunters, kings of the desert, and the dingo is not afraid of you and me. And so, catching the scent of warm ice cream on the cold night air, into the tent sniffed the dingo, as silent as the sand. Snatching the sleeping baby bundle, it vanished into the night. "Shh! I heard a baby cry," a camper said. "I heard it too," said another. "I heard a dog growl," said a third. The mother ran to the tent, but she was seconds too late. "A dingo has taken my baby," she cried, and panic cracked her heart. "Quick, get a torch," the mother called. But as soon as they ran out beyond the camp, they knew they were already defeated by the darkness. You can hardly see anything in that blackness. When the dingo had taken Azaria far away to its den, it did what any dingo would do and swallowed her up, leaving her tiny clothes in the dust. Meanwhile, the mother knew in her heart it was already too late. Her grief was so great that her tears shattered like diamonds across the night sky. Now this is all very sad, you will agree, but no one could have imagined what would happen next. First, the Anangu trackers, with their knowledge of the ancient desert, followed the dingo trail leading from the tent. Next, the baby's clothes were found, and the whole nation turned to watch, as most had never heard a story like this before. Then the ranger said, "I warned of this. These dingoes have no fear. I've said before, we must reduce their numbers." The expert said, "No, the dingo has a right to be here. It's part of the natural order. It is people who must learn to live with the dingo." The police said, "This kind of thing is unheard of. We don't believe it was a dingo. Maybe it's all a lie. Maybe it was murder. We need scientific tests." The scientists said, "Our tests find no evidence of dingo on the baby's clothes. We say no dingo was involved." The mother said, "But the baby was wearing a jacket over her clothes. That's where the evidence will be." The media said, "Do you believe her? Is the jacket a lie? Why won't she cry for the cameras? She seems unusual. Maybe she's guilty." What a story! Look at the newspaper. Facts were forgotten as opinions multiplied, prejudice and gossip took hold, mistakes were made, lies were told, and millions of newspapers were sold. The story had become a contest between the dingo and the mother. So many different opinions about what had happened. There's lots to read here. Across the nation, everyone had an opinion. If it was a dingo, this might happen again. And yet to many, a dingo still seemed as familiar as a pet. If it was the mother, they wanted her punished. She was different, people said, and so they made jokes about her and called her weird and unusual. Police accused her, press hounded her, people condemned her, and her heart cracked once again. "Stop blaming the dingo or we'll lock you up," they said. "Admit you're guilty and we'll let you go." "Never," said the mother. "I am innocent." But inside the courtroom, they didn't believe her. She fought hard for the truth while the whole nation watched as if it was all just a TV show. And so, amidst a perfect storm of gossip, mistakes and media, the court made its fateful decision. The mother was sent to jail for life. It wasn't fair and it wasn't right. How did it all go so wrong? The whole thing was like a fairy tale from long ago, with a wolf in the forest, a cruel king, and angry townsfolk. Of course, there were those who knew the truth, but they were not heard. And so it was set into history, this terrible mistake, until one day, years later, when police were out searching for another lost soul, they found that missing jacket and that dingo's secret den. And they realised that the experts had been wrong, that scientific tests were incorrect, and that the court was mistaken. The mother had been telling the truth all along. And as reports of other dingo attacks appeared in the news, the people realised they had gravely misjudged both the dingo and the mother. Everyone knows now that a dingo took Azaria. We all know now that dingoes are not tame. They can be dangerous, but they are not evil. They are just animals behaving like animals. See the mother teaching her little puppy how to survive. And we know now that people are not perfect. Some like to gossip, others like to listen, and sometimes even experts get things wrong. They're just people behaving like people. It was 32 years before a new judge fixed the mistake and the mother's name was finally cleared. But the press, the police and the people never did apologise. Perhaps they didn't know where to begin. The mother, who was both kind and wise beyond measure, chose to forgive them all. She wasn't weird or unusual. She was just like you and me. And so the story of Azaria lives forever in the heart of the desert to remind us to look beyond the surface, for things are not always as they seem. Even the truth can seem to be lost sometimes, but as we all know now, it's just waiting to be found. Well, there you are. Thanks for listening.